Among the many highlights fans enjoyed in the second half of the third season of Bridgerton, from solving the Lady Whistledown mystery to discovering if Kate and Anthony would announce a pregnancy, to the growing relationship between Francesca and John Sterling, there were also hints about who the next leading Bridgerton sibling will be, setting the stage for future seasons. The end of Season 1 had that little bee hinting that Season 2 would be about Anthony, and also Season 2 had Penelope and Colin falling out, even though Colin didn't really know they had, so they could make up in a big way this season. Now I think all hints from Season 3 point to Season 4 finally being Benedict's time to shine. Let me explain my reasons. In the Season 3 finale, the second eldest Bridgerton says goodbye to his sister Eloise, who's leaving for Scotland with the newlyweds Francesca and John Kilmartin. Eloise has decided to spend the off-season far from her usual places like Bridgerton House and Aubrey Hall to figure out who she wants to be and what she wants to do. To comfort her, Benedict assures Eloise that they'll most definitely see each other a year from now at their mother's famous masquerade ball, which Lady Violet would never let any of her children miss.
We should not let so long pass again between us.
This mention of the masquerade ball was enough to catch the attention of everyone who read the original Bridgerton books, as it's at a masquerade ball that Benedict meets Sophie Beckett, the woman who will become his wife, in a very Cinderella-like moment. Another hint confirming Benedict's future appears in the final episode of Season 3. In a close-up shot of Lady Whistledown's latest column, viewers can see society rumors hinting at future plotlines. The column mentions someone spending a lot of time with a certain unmarried young lady, which could mean an illicit relationship or a pregnancy scandal. This detail fits with the storyline of Benedict Bridgerton's book, An Offer from a Gentleman, where Sophie Beckett, an illegitimate daughter of an earl, becomes the focus of Benedict's affections. This one also suggests Sophie's introduction and her complex backstory may be a focal point in Season 4. The mention of the masquerade ball was the most obvious and final hint, but this second half of the season has been filled with small character moments showing us that Benedict is ready for a big change, especially after discovering his own bisexuality thanks to Lady Tilly and Paul. During his talk with Eloise on the swings just outside Bridgerton House, Benedict says he feels like the next thing he learns might change him completely. Considering he was coming off a conversation with Lady Tilly about not being ready for a serious relationship like she was, it makes sense to think that what's next for Benedict, the thing that could change him completely, is the committed relationship he has avoided over these 3 seasons of Bridgerton. Then again, just because we know that Benedict is likely going to be the leading man of Season 4, it doesn't mean we can be sure how his story will go. The show has made several changes to the original material, as all adaptations do, and most of them good ones, except the change of Michael to Michaela, which I personally don't like, so it could do the same with Benedict and Sophie's story. For example, how will Benedict's newfound sexuality come into play? Will Sophie be a man, as Michael Sterling was adapted into Michaela Sterling? What about the time jump in Benedict's story? Though Bridgerton has changed many story points from Julia Quinn's original Bridgerton novels, one major narrative device should be kept in the show. In Benedict's story, An Offer from a Gentleman, Benedict meets Sophie Beckett at a masquerade ball. They dance together and have the best night of their lives. But before he can find out who she is, the clock strikes midnight, and she's forced to run home, doomed to serve her wicked stepmother for the rest of her days. Yes, An Offer from a Gentleman is essentially a Cinderella retelling. Crucially, though, Benedict and Sophie don't meet again until 2 years after that fateful night. Sophie is now working as a maid in another household, and Benedict saves her from a violent partygoer. He doesn't know she's the one he danced with all those nights ago, and Sophie doesn't tell him either. Of course, they grow to love each other. Benedict discovers who she really is, and after a few more big reveals, they end up living happily ever after. So far, Bridgerton hasn't included as many major time jumps as the books have. Penelope and Colin's original story, for instance, also takes place several years later than what we see in the show. For their story, it didn't matter much, but I think that a 2-year time jump is essential to Benedict and Sophie's romance. It gives them both more time to grow before they're truly ready for each other, and the yearning that it brings forth certainly doesn't hurt either. So, what can the show do? Normally, I'd be wary of including a 2-year time jump within a single season. It could make the story feel rushed and make the audience feel like they've missed out on a crucial part of the characters' journeys. I'm not sure that's the case here, though. I actually think that if Bridgerton wants to make Benedict its season 4 lead, the time jump could work in the show's favor. The first episode could cover Benedict's independence and his experiences outside the boundaries of the Tun after his breakup with Lady Arnold. At the same time, it could introduce Sophie's unfortunate circumstances too, culminating in the masquerade ball that will change both their lives forever. The second episode would then take place 2 years later, and voila, their story can begin in earnest. Not only would this give Bridgerton's second son his well-deserved season, but it would also benefit both Eloise's and Francesca's stories. In the show, Eloise has often turned her nose up at the idea of marriage, preferring to stay independent and free-thinking. In her book, however, once Penelope and Colin, and Benedict of course, are married, she begins to feel lonely, like she's been left behind. She's not there yet, though. Her time in Scotland with Francesca is exactly what she needs right now. With a new place to discover, and time away from the pressures of society, and Colin and Penelope's in-your-face love, it's unlikely Eloise will feel like she's been left behind already. That requires more time, and since she's so wonderfully close to Benedict in the show, it would make more sense for her to begin to feel that way once the sibling who is most like her is finally paired up as well. Francesca's story, too, would benefit from this 2-year jump. In her story, Francesca is happily married to John until he tragically dies. Her second love interest was also introduced this season, though. Michael Sterling has become Michaela Sterling, setting up Francesca's second chance narrative. But John and Francesca's dynamic was so wonderful this season, and Francesca's story will only be deeper and more meaningful the more time she gets with John. The 2-year jump in Benedict's story could offer them that time. Of course, right now this is all just guesswork. But now that Lady Whistledown has been revealed, the show has much more freedom to play around with its structure. Why not use that new freedom to tell Benedict's story next? Additionally, considering Benedict's unique artistic journey and his struggles with societal expectations, his character arc offers rich material for the writers to explore. The development of his bisexuality, his commitment issues, and his quest for self-discovery can add layers to the narrative, making it not just a romantic storyline, but a profound personal evolution. Incorporating Sophie Beckett, whose own story is one of resilience and strength, would create a compelling dynamic that aligns with the show's tradition of strong, multidimensional characters. With these potential storylines, Benedict Bridgerton's season promises to be a captivating and transformative chapter in the Bridgerton saga. What do you think? Do you believe Season 4 will focus on Benedict Bridgerton and his journey? Are you excited about the potential time jump and the introduction of Sophie Beckett? Share your thoughts and theories about what's next for Bridgerton in the comments below.